Okay, hi guys. So I probably should introduce myself too in case there are any new distributors on. So my name is Shelby Sutton. I am your presidential upline. And what I was saying is tonight I'm going to be, and Ash, you are more than welcome to add in anything because I know that you'll actually have a lot of good things on this topic without you even knowing what the topic is yet. But I have a lot of stuff lined up for you guys tonight that I think is going to be really helpful. But the book that I got this info from is called Developing the Leader Within You 2.0 by John Maxwell. And he is an amazing author. He has, I don't even know how many books, but I know that I've personally read like at least 5 of his books. And this one is so good. Like I cannot put it down. I just started it on I almost said Wednesday. That's today. I just started it on Monday or Sunday or Monday, and I am just like soaking it up. And it's one of those ones where you can't even read it or listen to it like when you're in the shower or getting ready because you have to be somewhere where you can be taking notes. It's so good, and I'm just like clinging to every word that he says. But it is a leadership book and about developing yourself as a leader, but I truly think that it's a book for anybody because we all are or are going to be leaders in some capacity, whatever that capacity may be. And so this is just something, the things he talks about are ways that you can step up your game, like no matter what. It doesn't matter if it might not even be 100% business related, like it works business related. Like this can help you in so many different aspects of your life. Maybe you work, maybe you have another job that you work full time, like 9 to 5. Even just as like a mom or a college student, like there's just so many like principles and ideas and thoughts in here that can apply to you. So please bear with me as I go through these things. Grab a pen and a paper, or if you're like a typer person, like phone, iPad, whatever you got to get something, because I'm going to talk about some things that I think you guys will want to write down. And then there's some things that are, I think just two things where it's an actual like exercise where I want you guys to like actually think about them. So before I dive into this, I do just want to mention really quickly, tomorrow night is our 3rd and final summer camp. And if you're brand new or if you've just kind of been living under a rock this summer, we've already done 2 of these, one last month and one the month before. And what this is it's just been a great way for corporate and for, the field team and everybody from leadership to really connect with us as distributors, since we can't be doing any in-person events because of COVID. They have come up with this creative way where they're live streaming information to us, and they pack it all into one night, 3 hours, I think, of just tons and tons of information. And tomorrow's is, and I always get the details wrong, so I'm not even going to tell you exact times because I will mess them up and I don't want anybody to write down the wrong thing. So just go check yourself. If you have not purchased a live stream ticket yet, you can log into your eSuite, go to the events tab and purchase a summer camp ticket in that area. Make sure you write down what times it's at because like I said, I don't want to tell you the wrong time. So if someone wants to put it in the chat, you can. Brittany said it starts at 4:30 Central Time, and I believe that it's 3 hours long. There's 2 options as far as ticket prices. One is $14.99 and it's just the standard, which is like tune in tomorrow and watch the live stream. And then the second option is premium, which is only $5 more. It's $19.99, and you'll get all the benefits of the regular pack, the regular price, but you're also going to get a ton of extra perks. So you have like access to watching it again, which if you're a Northwestern, if you're over on the West Coast, 2:30, that's a tough time. For me, that would be a very tough time. So getting the premium pass so that you can watch it later is a a big thing that you might want to do. There's also like a you guys, I can't even talk tonight. Not behind the scenes. What's it called? Like some kind of like special thing with Mark and Cindy. There's just all kinds of extra perks that you guys, Q&A. I'm like, what is it? So a Q&A with Mark and Cindy, who are the CEO, owner of the company, and just all kinds of amazing perks when you pay just $5 more. So I highly recommend it. But do what works for you, what works for your budget. But please, you guys, figure out a way that you can tune into this. And that brings me to another thing, which I do not want to take a lot of time on this because I want to get into the good stuff here. But in order to watch the summer camp live stream, you have to download Impact TV, which is basically just a streaming service, and you sign up for this Impact TV, and you have a 45-day free trial. So you're able to see summer camp, you're able to have access to it, and you're able to have access to all of the things on Impact TV, which if any of you guys already have it, you know that it's full of just like tons of motivational speeches and all kinds of just amazing stuff. And it's totally free. You just want to make sure you cancel it before the 45 days is up, unless you want to keep it. I don't even know how much it costs monthly if you want to keep it, but you're going to want to tune into summer camp, and you need to have Impact TV to do that. So with all of that being said, you're going to get it, when you buy your ticket, you'll get instructions on everything, how to do that. And I'm just really, really excited for it. And, I forgot to tell you, which I really wanted to mention this because it's a good selling point for anyone that's not yet convinced. But tomorrow's topics are going to be the compensation plan. So if any of you are like, I've been here for like a month, 2 months, 3 months, 3 years, 6 years, and I still don't totally get the compensation plan, this will help you a lot. It's going to go over how the compensation plan works, how you can maximize it. It's also going to talk about money mindset, which is a huge thing that we as a team have talked about somewhat. We've talked about some books that we've read around that, but like it's gonna really, really go into depth in that, and I don't want to say fixing, but altering your money mindset is so huge if you want to break that glass ceiling, if you want to make more, if you want to reach that like impossible dream of what X, Y, and Z amount of dollars. This will be so crucial for that. There's also going to be tons of stories of how you can tons of stories of how people went debt free, and that kind of stuff is just so inspiring to me, and I think that you guys will get a lot out of it too. So without any more on that, make sure you guys go buy your ticket, make sure you get your Impact TV set up, and I can't wait to just hear some ahas and the things that you learn from that tomorrow. Okay, so I wanted to make sure that I definitely went over that because that's a big deal, something I really want to see all of us on. And now I want to dive into what I learned between Monday and today, just soaking up this book. And again, it's called Developing the Leader Within You 2.0 by John Maxwell. Feel free to grab it. I promise you guys will not regret it. But the things that I want to talk to you guys a little bit about priorities, systems, and schedules. Okay? Priorities, systems, and schedules. And I know that this might seem kind of boring, but you would be surprised by the amount of messages that I get from the team on a weekly basis that's like, what do you do? What do you do? What's your schedule like? Or what does your day look like? What does your week look like? What does your month look like? How do you stay organized? How do you get everything done? Just yesterday, I had someone message me and she was like, how do you even work this business with 3 kids? Like how? And I have things to say for all of that, but we're going to start with priorities. And this is the portion of the Zoom that I completely got from the book. So everything that I say to you guys right now is not mine. This is stuff that I just learned. I mean, some of it's like obvious stuff, but some of it I'm like, yes, this is so good. So with priorities, making priorities, setting priorities, the first thing you have to do is determine, what do you want? What do you want? And this seems so obvious, like painfully obvious. Like, of course I need to determine what I want. But you guys, when I read that, I was actually running and it hit me like a ton of bricks where I was like, I need to get clear about what I want, because I have a million thoughts running through my head. I know I want this, or that would be a great goal, or that was on my dream board in January, so it probably still is now, unless I've, unless I've achieved it. But what do I really, 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 really want? What are the things that I want? You have to determine that. So take a second while I move to number 2, and like, what are the things that immediately popped in your head when I said that? Or maybe for you, you didn't have things immediately pop in your head, and that's okay. That means you just need to take some time to truly think about it. For me, I needed that. I needed that like quiet space right after my devotional where I was already like super tuned in with myself and nothing else, and was like, what do I really want? What do I want right now? Not because Ashley has it, like not because so-and-so is making this paycheck, I want to make it too, but like, what do I want and what do I need personally? Okay. So number 2 is, once you figure out what you really, really want, then you need to figure out the priorities that will get you closer to that goal. Again, this stuff is obvious, but sometimes I think I said this last week too, but sometimes you just need that reminder to like put you back in check, to remind you like, what are the priorities that are going to align you and get you closer to that big goal of whatever it is that you want. And so for me, I did this yesterday, and I think I wrote down like maybe 10 things, because I was like, I'm just going to write down like 3 things that I really want. And then it just started coming off so easily, like off the pen, to where I was like, oh, I really want, there's some things I really want, And maybe when I say things, they don't necessarily have to be like physical, tangible things. They can just be like goals, or a dollar amount, or maybe it's like a certain bank account number, like in savings. Maybe it's a piece of property. Maybe you want to travel. Maybe you want a baby. Maybe you want, I don't know, I'm just trying to think of like random things. And then when you have those things written down, I want you to really I took it one step further as far as like figure out the priorities that will get you closer to that. Like, what's actually going to get me there? Because I know, like, when I wrote down these 10 things, of course I could have just been like, work my business harder and be more consistent, right? Like, duh, like that's what we do here. Like, we work our business and we get paid to do so. So that would be like the obvious, easy answer. But what I did, hold on, really quick. What I did was I really drilled down to where it was like, what do I actually have to do for this goal to happen? And so I wish I had my list in front of you, because I'd love to give you guys an example. But okay, let me give this one, for example. So if you wanted to travel for 3 to 6 months in 2021, like your goal was to, jump in an RV with your family and travel for 3 to 6 months. Some examples of what I'm talking about would be, would you want to rent an RV or buy one? And once you know that, you're like, okay, if I want to, you got it. What's the research that you would have to do behind deciding if you want to rent or buy, right? Where do you want to go? How long do you want to be in each place? You have to like figure out these details of the plan so that you can go further into what your priorities would be to get, because those to-dos, that's your priority to get there, right? Because there's so many things, so many like ideas that I have, that all these like grand ideas are floating around. But if I don't take the action steps to get there, I'm never going to get there. They're just going to stay ideas. And one thing that popped into my head is like New Year's resolutions. If you're just like, New Year's resolutions, woo, it's January, everybody does this, this is what we do, I'm gonna write some things down, and I'm gonna lose weight, and I'm gonna be like a better mom, and I'm gonna blah, 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 I'm gonna blah, blah, blah. If you don't put action to those things, they're never going to happen. They're just things that you wrote down on a piece of paper and maybe hung on your wall for the first 30 to 60 days of the year. You have to take action. So really it should be, instead of New Year's resolutions, it should be like action steps to 2021, you know, or whatever the year is. You guys know what I'm saying. So hopefully that all makes sense. Now, one thing that he does warn of, and like I said, when I started writing down, like, what do I actually want? It just kind of started flowing. But one thing that he says is too many priorities can lead to confusion and to chaos. So if you have too many things going on, too many priorities, then it's not really priorities anymore. Now it's just like a lot of stuff, and you can't focus on the one thing or the two things or the three things. And he used an example of, a lion tamer and at a circus and the lion tamer brought the lion out, and they had done all this training, this like one-on-one step-by-step training. So that, I mean, obviously he's like working with a lion here. That's very scary and intimidating, but that's their job. That's what they do. But what happened is he started giving the lion too many like orders, too many things, like too many flashing lights, too many people in the stands, too many do this, too many do that, too many jump here and there, to where it created chaos in the lion's brain. And the lion ended up just going like cray. And I don't know if that's a true story, because that's terrifying if you're sitting in the audience or if you're the lion tamer. But the point is that when there is too many quote unquote priorities, there is no real priority, because there's just too much chaos going on. And so I want you to think about that in your own life. Like, do I have so many priorities going on that I can't actually focus on one thing? And like, this is sometimes things that you think you can't even control until you realize it, and then you can take control of it. So if your priorities are priorities in a day are being a business owner, making sure you're getting your 6 list or KPIs, whatever you want to call it, done, right? And then you have a team, so reaching out to them. But then you're a mom and you have to pick your kids up from school, but they go to 2 different schools, and then they both have sports, and so you're taking them to 2 different sports. And oh wait, your husband came home from a 12-hour shift, and so you have to make sure that his lunch is packed for the next day, plus your kids' lunches for the next day. And the house hasn't been cleaned, so you're going to stay up late and you're going to make sure that's done. These are all important things. They're all priorities, but you are going to drive yourself mad if you don't figure out a way to organize these priorities in your life. You can't do it all. You cannot do it all. And you're going to go crazy if you try. And so that whatever that means, slowing it down. And I'm going to get to something that he says too that I absolutely love. So let's just dog ear that, because I have something for that. But one thing that he says is sometimes crisis helps us reevaluate our priorities. So whatever that crisis may be for you, maybe it's like a rock bottom type situation, or maybe it's just crisis to the extent of what I was just explaining to you, where you feel so burnt out, so run down, so many priorities. But sometimes you need that crisis or that rock bottom to be that like light bulb going off, like, oh my gosh, I need a change. I need to focus on what the true priorities really truly are. And so he uses an example. Hold on one sec. I'm like burning up. He uses an example of the Titanic, and he's talking about how at this point, the Titanic has already hit the iceberg. All the women and children have been brought off the boat, and they're on the life rafts. And a woman says to the person who's like in charge of that life raft, like, can I go back up to my estate room really quick? And the person in charge says, yes, you have 3 minutes to go back up to your estate room. And she goes back up, And she goes to her room, and as she's running down the hallway, there's just jewels and money and all kinds of stuff all over the floor that people dropped as they were trying to run out of their rooms to the to the life rafts, or you guys know, like the little boats. They were running out in a panic, and she's stepping over these things that she normally would have never overlooked or never would have stepped over. And she goes into her room and she grabs three oranges, and then she runs back out and she gets back onto the boat. And again, I don't know if this story is true, because my first thought was like, the guy let her get out the boat to go get something? Like, that doesn't seem right. But anyways, you guys get the point. Like, normally her priority would have been money and jewels and these irreplaceable things, right? But because of this crisis going on, her priority was three oranges, so that her and the people on the boat had food to eat while they were out in the middle of the ocean. So, sometimes it does take crisis. And I'm not saying let it get there, let it get to that. I'm saying wherever you're at right now, recognize it. And maybe you're very, very, very close to that iceberg, recognize it. Maybe you're not close to that iceberg, but you could be eventually. Recognize it so that you can get your priorities in order now instead of then. You know what I mean? So with another thing is, with too many priorities, we often start with priority number 2 or priority number 3 or whatever. Like, that's just an example, instead of priority number 1. This is me. And this is a somewhat silly example, but it's pretty applicable to our business. Is for example, the 6 list. So for any of you that might not really know what that is, it's basically just the things that we do every single day. And if I have time to go over it at the end, I did want to kind of talk to you guys a little bit about it in case there are any newbies on here. But a couple of the things, I'll just shout them out. A couple of the things that we do is we post every day, we add to our network every day, we interact every day, and we message every day, specifically post to post, right? And so for me, an example of with these priorities, if you aren't doing the main priority because you're doing 2 and 3 and 4, you're never going to get to the main one. And we actually should be doing all 6 of these things. So this might actually be a terrible example. But the point is that I get so distracted that I will post and make sure I have something up on my story, and I'll add to my network, and then I'll start interacting, and then I'll get called in by the kids or by Phil, and I'll have to do something, or maybe I have to go make lunch, or maybe like whatever, something happens. And then when I sit back down to get back into what I was doing, I start back and I look at my post. I make sure that I posted. I want to see if anybody commented on it or liked it. I check my story, and I get back into this rhythm where I started back at the beginning instead of getting to it, to where I find that I never messaged all day because I kept checking my dang posts. Like, that actually doesn't matter as much as the messaging matters. Now, if you've been here with us, you know that it all goes full circle, and that the 6 list, you actually have to do all 6 for it to work. So that's why I said this might be a terrible example, but the point is that if you have too many priorities and you're focusing on, you might be focusing on priorities that are actually lower and never ever doing the main thing. And sometimes it's like our subconscious doing it, because we don't want to do whatever number 1 is, because it's hard or it's scary or it's outside of our comfort zone, or we don't know what other people are going to think, or whatever. And so we're like, I'll just do these down here and it will be fine, and I will get to the main thing eventually. And then you never do. And then sometimes you're like, it's fine because I did the other thing, so we good. No. We got to stop doing that to ourselves. It's like self-sabotage. So we got to get better about that. that you got to keep the main thing the main thing. I don't remember who says that, but some top income earner says it, and it might be Cami actually, but I really, really like it. You got to keep the main thing the main thing. Now, one thing that he talked about, that this is the thing that kind of blew my mind a little bit. And I feel like I may have heard this at one point in time, but the reason that it blew my mind is because I have heard this 80-20 rule, right? Like drop a one if you've ever heard 80-20 thrown around. We've said it, I think, on our team trainings before. 80-20 rule. Now, this is where my mind was blown, because I don't know if people just told it to me wrong, or if this is just his own 80-20 rule, or maybe I just made up the wrong, maybe I just, not made up, but like heard the other thing wrong, and that this is what it is, okay? So his 80-20 rule is 20% of what so Sydney just put in there 80% mindset, 20% work. And that is true. That is what we always say. 20% work, 80% mindset. Mindset is so, so, so important. But hear this. This is so good, you guys. 20% of what we do leads to 80% of our results. So he's not specifically talking about mindset here. This is talking about 20% of everything will lead to 80% results. And so let me break that down for you a little bit. Like, let me give you some examples. So for example, we have, in my e-suite, I have thousands of distributors on this team in my downline. Now, not all of them are working, but there are thousands of people in my e-suite upon thousands. Look right now, there's 37 people on this Zoom. I think that our normal number of people on this Zoom are between 35 and like 55 to 60. Like 60 is a good, we got like Pam on or something, like 60's like, yeah, or a few teams are on with us. So think about that for a second. I have thousands of people on my team and there's 37 on tonight. Okay. Don't worry. It's going to get good. Think about how many products we have in our product line. Now there's always the outliers, of course. I'm not saying I've like never sold I can't even think of it. I don't know. I forget that. We have tons of products in our product line, right? But you personally probably sell about 20% of the products that we have in our product line. Think about it. Like, are you selling all of our products all the time? No, you're probably selling the 3 that you talk about in your story every morning. Your to-do list, you're probably, going through the day, 20% of your to-do list is going to get you 80% results. And now this is a big one, especially if you're a leader or you have somewhat of a team. The top 20% of your team is going to get you 80% of results in your business. So this one was huge, because what he said next was crazy, because it's flip-flop from what you would probably think. So if 20% of your team is what gets you 80% of your results. Oh, another one that he said, before I go into that, another one that he said was, when you're reading a book, 20% of the book is actually important, and the other 80% you could like completely leave out. And then he was like, except for my books, of course. But it's so true. Like, how many times do we read a whole book through and we're like, okay, like chapter 3 and 6 were great, but they could have skipped the rest and been fine. So anyways, back to the part that was like 20% of your team will get you 80% of results. Now, what he said here was crazy. He's like, so what you need to be doing is focusing your time, your 20% of time, on those top 20% of your team. He's like, but what's crazy is right now, you're probably spending your time, your hard time, your precious time on the 80% because you're trying to drag them along because they're not doing anything. They're not doing crap. They're not working. They're not responding to you. They're not none of these things because you feel like they're the ones that really need this like shake, this wake up call, this drag, whatever it is, when really it's the 20% who are doing all the things already that you should be focusing your time on because they're the ones that are going to get you massive results. And I was like, oh, dang. And he's like, it's a wake-up call for a lot of people because we're so hardwired to work on the people that aren't working because we want them to do better, when really we should be working closely with the people who are working. But we are just so inclined to think like they got it. They know what they're doing. And this is why you need to be pouring into your leaders and to the people who are completing their steps. You need to be praising them. You need to be shouting them out. You need to be asking them how you can be helping them better. Because I mean, I'm guilty of this too, being like, they're my leaders. I don't need to be giving them this or that. They don't need my help. They don't need me. They know what I'm doing, when really they're the ones that need to be getting the love. Okay. And this doesn't just mean like, okay, I am no longer going to be speaking to any of you unless you're a diamond or above. Like, that's not what I mean, because there's a portion of people who are not diamonds yet. They will be, but they are working just as hard as those diamond leaders. It's not about your rank. It's about it's about what you're putting in. And are you one of the 20%? Are you one of the 20% of the team that of the team, this thousands of people, are you one of the people that I should be spending my time with because you're showing up? Hi, everyone. Thank you for showing up tonight. I'm glad to see you. Like, this is you guys. I already know that it's worth it for me. And I hope you guys don't take this the wrong way, like worth it, but like, because everyone's worthy, everyone's special, but like, you guys are showing up. So you guys are the ones I should be pouring my time into. Does that make sense? And isn't that kind of cool how that 80-20 is a little bit different from what we're used to hearing? So I just thought that was really cool and definitely wanted to share that. And so he talks about a couple ways that we can determine what our top priorities are. This is the thing that I said I wanted to get back to you guys on. So to dog ear it, but dog ear it, like little tag. We're back. So it's 3 R's, he says, that determine what your top priorities are. And I love these. I love these so much. And this is the part where I really want you guys to take a couple of seconds. I'm only going to give you a couple seconds. So maybe instead of actually thinking it through, you write down what these questions are so that you can come back to them later. But these are the 3 R's to determine what your top priority is. So, or top priorities if you have a couple. So number 1, what is required of me? So what are the non-negotiables? What's required of me? And I'll give you guys time if you do want to write down, like, what are some things that are required of you? What are your non-negotiables as far as requirements go? And so just as an example, while you guys are writing down, for me, my requirements as far as this business goes are very similar to yours. Like it's the KPIs, it's the key performance indicators, it's the 6 list. Those go hand in hand. They basically are the same thing. Though that is a non-negotiable, it has to be, you guys. So that's where we're the same. Now, some other non-negotiables for me are this: every Wednesday night, making sure that I'm showing up for you guys and that I'm providing value to you. And we're not just sitting on here like talking about what we ate for breakfast this morning, even though, we could do that on another Zoom. Tonight's Zoom is there's a specific purpose to tonight's Zoom. And so that's a responsibility of mine. And I take it seriously, and it's a non-negotiable. And that's not to say like I'll never miss a Wednesday night, because I probably will. But, you know, I take this very seriously, and I'm not just going to like out of the blue be like, canceled, I don't feel like it, you know, like that's not how this is a non-negotiable for me. So what are yours? You know, maybe you're Ruby working towards Diamond, and you do a power hour with your team 3 times a week, and that's your non-negotiable. You know, like everybody's could look different. And this, when you're writing these things down, it doesn't necessarily just have to be business related. I'm just telling you mine for business, because this is a huge part of my life. Like this is just every day for me. Like this is what I do. Okay. So number 2, the second R to determine top priorities. What gives me the greatest return? What gives me the greatest return? So what are the things that, you know, you do that you see? I mean, I'm just reiterating the question kind of, but does everybody get this question? Like, what are the things that you do that you actually see a return from? And then number 3, and I love this one, but what is most rewarding to you? Because the thing that I love about this one is if you are doing things that are rewarding, then it's never going to feel like a job. It's never going to feel like work. I mean, it is. It will feel like work, but you know what I mean? Like it's never going to, you're never going to lose your joy, because it's so rewarding for you to do these things. You know what I mean? And so when you do when you're able to answer these 3 questions, this is how you're going to figure out what your priorities are. Because if it's not rewarding to you, if it's not going to give you a good return, and if it's not required of you, then stop doing it. Stop. It's not a priority. Stop making it a priority, because it's not. So that's why I love these 3 questions, because when I first heard them, I was like, oh, yay, this is great. But then it was like a gut punch where it was like, wait, there's so many things that I'm doing that aren't on this list. Why am I doing them? You know, it made it so clear that I was doing things that I didn't have to do. Maybe it was things for other people. Maybe it was things that I thought were non-negotiables that I thought I had to do, but really weren't. Maybe it was things that were just straight up not rewarding. And now, don't get me wrong, not every single part of what we do is just like so rewarding, like messaging people, yay, that brings me so much joy. No, that doesn't bring me joy. But I know that if I do that's one of my non-negotiables. So if it's one of these things, then it's on the list, but it's nice having those things on the list that are rewarding, because it is really important to have rewarding things as a priority too. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in something called, we're kind of moving on off of the priorities topic. I guess, I don't know. We're kind of veering off here at this point. So let me check the chats really quick just to make sure nobody asked anything like super duper. Ash, you can tell me too if you noticed. Looks like people are just commenting along for the most part. Okay, Alana asked a question, but we'll hold off. We'll hold off on that because I don't want to distract. And Alana, you can private message me too if you want, and we can talk a little bit about it. But where was I going? Oh yeah. So something that I want to talk to you guys about is, it's called white space. White space. So what John Maxwell said, that white space is so important in your life. And for him, it's very, very hard for him to create white space because he's an overachiever and he feels like everything has to be done. Everything has to be checked off the list. Everybody needs to be pleased. He needs to be pleased with himself. He's very hard on himself. So what white space is creating that space in your day where there's nothing there. It's white space. So you're not running a million miles a minute from the second you wake up to the time you go to bed. And we have preached a lot to you guys about taking a Sabbath, taking one day a week where you can rest and recharge. But also for me, one thing that I noticed and have shared with you guys is I don't feel guilty because I'm not responding to people, not responding to the team, not responding to potentials, because I know it's my one day to rest and recharge, and I know I'll be better because of it. So you're going to get my better self in those 6 days than if I were to not take a Sabbath and respond to you on the 7th day, if that makes sense. So it's taking that day, and maybe you're not ready to take a full day. Maybe you're just not there yet. You're uncomfortable with it, but it's so important to be creating some kind of white space in your day to where you're not constantly going, doing, thinking, just taking those breaks in your day to rest. And so he actually broke it down into this incredible, I didn't write down the numbers, but he broke it down into like, so if, what did he say? I think it was like, I think he used the 80-20 rule when he was talking about the white space. And so he was like, if you were to take 20% of your day and have white space within your day, then that would be like 3.3 hours a day or something. And like, don't quote me on any of this because I'm bad at numbers and I have a terrible memory, but you'll get the gist here, I think. So 3 hours a day of white space. And he's like, hear me out. I know that sounds crazy because it sounds crazy to me too. Like, I don't want to take 3 hours a day of white space. Like, that's not me. And he's like, but then if you break that down into days, it's like, or days, into a week's time, it's 22 hours. 22 hours of white space in your week. He's like, and then if you break it into months, it's 6 days out of the month. And then if you break it into, that might not be right, but, and if you break it down into a year, I forget, it was like 3 weeks or something. And he's like, so imagine if you were just like, if you just gave yourself 3 weeks or however, 3 weeks doesn't sound right. I think it needs to be more than that. But he's like, if you actually took that amount of vacation time, or if you actually took 6 hours a week to just create this like white space in your days, he's like, how crazy would that be? I know it sounds hard. And he's like, and I'm still not 100% at it. And he's like, but it's so important to be creating that space in your life to rest and relax. And that doesn't necessarily mean like laying in your bed with your eyes shut, meditating. Like, that could mean exercising. That could mean reading. That could mean praying. That could mean meditating. That could mean vacation, downtime, whatever. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean like turn your phone off, sit in a dark room, don't talk, barely breathe, definitely don't eat. Like, that's not what we're saying here. It just means taking that time to just like block everything else out and chill, just chill, you know? So something to think about, something to challenge yourself on too, because I'm the kind of person who, like, if somebody gives me quote unquote permission, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll take 3 hours of white space. Cool. Got it. Whereas some people might be like, no, like a red personality would be like, no. Like, I'll take 30 seconds a day if you're lucky to take that break. So start pulling it in to maybe instead of 3 seconds, you take 30 minutes a day to just chill. And that could be your self-development time to fill your cup. Because we all know on this team, like, self-development is a must every single day. Like, if you're not doing anything else, you got to be getting your mind right. And you guys, it's crazy how we preach this every single Wednesday night and on the team page. And yet I still have numerous people come to me every single day and say, I'm doing everything right. Why am I not seeing results? And we talk about what's going on, and they are not doing self-development. Or they're like, I've slacked off. I'm ready to jump back in, but I'm terrified. I'm not sure what I should be doing. Okay, well, so I go over messaging, like all the things, messaging, adding to your network. No, I get all that. I'm just like so scared. I'm like, self-development. You have to do it every single day. If you're jumping back in, if you guys happen to be sitting on this Zoom right now and you're jumping back in, you haven't done anything, you're terrified to do anything because you don't want to fail or whatever it is, don't even do anything. Don't even start doing your 6 list. Go buy a book right now and just start reading the book. And don't even do any of the other things until you've completed that book. Don't take a year to read the book. You gotta read the book and finish the book, but don't do anything else. And if any of your enrollers get mad at me for saying that, I'll take the heat for it. But your mind's not in a spot right now where you can be actually signing distributors and loyal customers until you finish that book. So don't do anything else until you buy that book and you read that book. Make it your priority, your number one priority. And then we can talk about the other things that you should be doing to start seeing results. Okay. All right. So that's everything with white space. How much time do I have here? All right. We have 10 minutes. I just talked forever on the priorities part, but that's okay. I feel like drop a 2 if you feel like you've gotten a lot out of this as far as like priorities go, and maybe getting a better understanding of what that is, because we're all busy. We're all, either moms, or maybe we're not moms, but we're juggling a million things. Maybe we're homeschooling, maybe we're not homeschooling, whatever it is, this is what we talked about last week. The whole entire time was all the things that we're all going through right now, and how to get through, and how to make it through and still be successful in our business while we're juggling all these things. And, everything, I highly recommend, if you guys were on last week, to go back to that and listen into it, because it was really, really good. But I thought I would, after reading this portion of the book, I was like, I need to dive into this even more and talk about like reminding ourselves that not everything's a priority. Not everything that we're making a priority is a priority, and we need to get in alignment with that. We need to get it straight, what's really, really, truly important to us and what we should be spending our time with every single day. So the last thing that I'll talk to you guys about really quickly, and this is going to be a review for all of you seasoned distributors. This is mainly for any new distributors, but I feel like it's so important because, again, so many people reach out to me and they say, how do you make it through the day? How do you work your business every single day? How do you make sure you get the things done? How do you do it with 3 kids, 3 toddlers? And I'm not saying all that to be like, I'm perfect and I finish everything and do everything every day and I'm the best, because that's not true at all, 0%. But what I do know is I very much stick to the systems that we have in place. And what those are is our key performance indicators, or 6 lists. And I know that I've mentioned these things a couple times already. And if you're tired of hearing about them, I'm sorry, you guys, but this is how you are successful in this business. You have to be so very consistent with these things every single day. The moment you decide to put the brakes on, the moment you decide that that show on Netflix is more important than messaging for host to post, newsflash, you can do both at the same time. But the second you don't do the key performance indicators because you were too busy, too tired, too fearful, blah, 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 whatever the reason is, you're putting the brakes on, and you cannot keep pumping the brakes. You can't keep pumping the brakes, you guys. You're never truly going to take off. And you know, if I'm being honest and just sharing my heart here, please nobody take this personally, but there's too many people on this team who have been with me for a long time, 6 months or more, that are not where they want to be and are not even close to where they want to be because they keep pumping the brakes. And it breaks my heart because I love you girls dearly and I want to see you be successful. But what's crazy is I know you can be successful because I see it in you. I can see that your why is so clear, but you're letting things get in the way of you being very, very, very consistent. And consistency is what's going to take you there. You can't do something for 1 day or 2 days and expect a week's worth of results, and so on and so forth. So guys, you have to be consistent. You have to be doing these key performance indicators. If you're brand new, these are in our team page. Go to the files section. It's a PDF. You can print it out. If you don't have a printer, don't make excuses. Write them down. Type them in your phone. Whatever. Take a picture. Like whatever you got to do, get them in front of you so that you can start checking them off as you're doing them. You guys, this is not rocket science. This is not brain surgery. It's making friend requests on Facebook. It's interacting with said friends. It's reaching out to people through messages, asking them if they want free stuff. I want the stuff. Like our giveaways are really good, you guys. I want them. People want this stuff. And if you find that you're messaging and people are saying, no, thank you, not interested, join the club. Like you're not the only one getting that message that people aren't interested in $1,000 in free money or like whatever our giveaway is. They just don't want to be a part of it. Who cares? Move on. Find the people that do. You're not the only ones that are getting the negative messages, okay? And if I'm being completely honest, a lot of these people just have like a wet turd in their pants. That's disgusting. But these people are just like, they're in a terrible mood because so many of us, and I don't mean this team, and, you know, but sometimes even it works, so many of us do it wrong. And so their inboxes are full of the spammiest, crappiest, worst, most robotic messages all day long. And so they get ours comes through. And even though you did a great job, and even though you're just offering them a free whatever, a free Louis Vuitton just for posting a couple words on their Facebook, are you kidding me? Sign me up. But if they're saying no, there's a good chance that you caught them at a bad time. They don't understand because the confused mind says no, or they are getting inundated by terrible, crappy messages every single day, and that's not your fault, okay? So if somebody says no, who cares? Move on. Go find the people that do want the free stuff, okay? So I don't even know, where am I? Where's my notes? I got lost there. But the point is the KPIs, key performance indicators, you have to be doing them every single day. You have to be doing them consistently. And when you do, you will see results. You cannot not see results when you do these things consistently. And I am so excited for the day when, I don't care if it's just one of you, comes to me and is like, Shelby, thank you so much for saying that for the 3rd week in a row so that it finally went through my head. It clicked. I printed it out. I started doing them. And now I'm boxed for Ruby. Or now I'm boxed for Diamond because I finally did it. And I told myself, I made a commitment to myself to be consistent with it. Because if I'm being honest, I'm seeing I'm in a top leader chat and I'm seeing a lot of people saying like, thank you so much, Amber Parker, for telling us about the KPIs. My team is blowing up. Our sales is through the roof. We're seeing more enrollments than ever. And you guys, don't get me wrong. This team is doing amazing and I'm very proud of you. But I'm like, hold on. No one from my team has been like, Shelby, thank you so much. KPIs are amazing. Thank you for introducing this, because I don't think that it's clicked for all of us yet. Because it's confused. It sounds confusing, but as soon as you get over that, you print it out and you start actually doing it, my inbox is going to start filling up from you guys. You don't have to say thank you to me. I'm not looking necessarily for a thank you. I'm just looking for you guys to be like, yes, yes, it's working. I just want it to work, you guys. And I know that it can because I'm seeing it work for so many others. And I am just so insanely passionate about seeing you guys win. I don't want to be in a stagnant season ever. I don't want us to be either here or here. I want it here. And I know it's not always daisies and rainbows and butterflies and all the cutesy things. Like, I know a business goes like this, but I no longer want us to just, I don't want to see anyone being like, well, that was my goal. I'm not there yet. I don't know if I'm ever going to get there. Oh, wait, look, my kids are home from school for 2 weeks. Like, I don't know, whatever the reason is. I don't want that to be the reason. I don't want there to be reasons that we all as a team aren't moving up together collectively, because there's absolutely no reason why we can't. So I know that I didn't go over. I thought that it was over. I don't have anything else to say. I'm sweating profusely. I feel like I screamed at you guys for the last 25 minutes. So hopefully everyone still loves me. I love you guys so much. And I'm so happy that you jumped on tonight. If you have any questions, I didn't check the chats at all. I will, you know what I'll do? I'll stop recording right now.